مرحبا بكم encore une fois. احنا موجودين في الموبايل وورد كونغرس في برشلونة. توا جينا ضيف بحذا une société qui s'appelle Trustonic. Donc ils ont en fait lancé une étude récemment sur le financement des smartphones en Afrique et ils ont une solution pour combler le gap donc d'acquisition en fait des smartphones en Afrique et plusieurs autres régions du monde. Donc là, on est en présence du CEO de la compagnie, Monsieur Dion Price. Donc, hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Great.
Nice to meet you, and thank you for having us.
No problem.
So, to start, could you explain to us what you do in Trustonic exactly?
Yes, sure. So I think it's probably easiest to start with the problem that we solve in the world. So I think the one statistic that everybody finds surprising, especially here at Mobile World Congress, is about 3.5 billion people in the world don't have a smartphone. I think everybody assumes that everybody has one, global phenomenon, the fastest selling consumer device in history. But about half of the world don't have one. That is generally a problem of affordability. So when we look at Africa, for example, especially sub-Saharan Africa, the population there, a huge percentage, about 60%, they live on about $3.20 per day. So even if a smartphone is maybe only $70 or $100, if you're only surviving on $3.20 a day, then it's still an impossible dream. So what we work on is affordability programs through device security so that we can help those customers cross that digital divide and move from a very basic feature phone or no phone and then step into their very first smartphone. So that's generally the problem that we solve is that crossing of the digital divide.
All right. Can we go back actually to the recent study you conducted and you announced actually at the Mobile World Congress 2025?
Yeah. So the study is very interesting. We based the study on about 9 million customers, so it's a big study. And what we've been doing is we've been running the Trustonic solution throughout Africa in 24 different customer accounts across those 9 million customers. And what we found is that over the past 24 months approximately, the affordability programs that we're running have allowed a significant number of consumers to acquire their first smartphone. So we think it's probably about a 55% increase in the average selling price of devices. So what we see is that before we were engaged, the average selling price within a particular country may only have been about $68. So that includes feature phones, it includes smartphones, all mixed together, $68. So clearly that means the market is dominated by feature phones. And then you fast forward with 2 years worth of data, and we've jumped that by over $100. So then the average then is running up at about $160, $170. So what that means is we've crossed the threshold from feature phone to smartphone. And when that happens, a whole bunch of wonderful things occur within the country and for those consumers. So if you have a smartphone versus a feature phone, you're able to obviously access the internet, you're able to access increased online banking, education, content that would require sort of medical assistance for your family. It's very transformative for those consumers and their families.
All right. Can we talk a bit about the methodology actually you're using to collect the data? Because I see you actually partner with the GSMA. Are you using also data from GSMA intelligence or something else, or maybe your data?
We do both. So we reference the GSMA data because obviously it's a very good source that we can reference globally, worldwide. It's publicly available. Everybody sees and understands it. So it's a very good foundation for the data. And then we apply our data points on top. So while we were looking at this study, which was 9 million consumers, we actually have about 280 million devices on our platform all over the world. So we have a lot of data that we can use from different parts of the world, different regions, and we can draw conclusions in terms of what is happening in one market and how that applies to the next one. So we can really speed up the adoption of mobile devices. Historically, the industry has attempted to make devices as cheap as possible, but generally the industry is making somewhere between 1.4 and 1.6 billion phones every year. So if you are making 1.4 to 1.6 billion mobile phones and you still can't make them cheap enough for almost half of the world's population, then you need something else, right? There needs to be another way to put the smartphones in consumers' hands, and that is really spreading the cost of those devices. In order to do that, you need very strong security to give our partners the confidence to extend loans into parts of the economy that previously have never had a credit rating, they've never experienced credit of any sort. So we're really extending the trust, but we do reference back to the GSMA data because it is one sort of global universal source of truth that a lot of people rely on.
All right. So if I get it right, you're actually also working with operators.
Yes.
And you came up with this solution actually to reduce the risk when it comes to financing actually
right.
mobile phones. So could you explain to us what is it about exactly?
Yes, for sure. So we do work with many operators, retailers, financiers, about 70 of them all over the world. And we work with them in slightly different ways. So in developed markets, more like Tunisia, for example, where smartphone penetration is 80% plus, so that's a very developed market. We also work in markets where smartphone penetration is incredibly low, maybe only 5 or 10% of that market. So we work in conjunction with the carriers, such as Tunisia Telecom or Orange, but also Vodafone, Telefonica, lots of customers all over the world and partners that we work with. Historically, when a consumer walks into a retail store with a carrier, they will say, okay, I would like this amazing smartphone and I would like it on this tariff. And then the sales representative will check the credit rating of that customer. And in 60% of cases, they say, no, your credit rating is not high enough for me to give you this phone on this tariff. So you either need to choose a phone that is cheaper, or you have to pay more as a deposit or more as a monthly fee. So it's amazing that there's an industry out there that is saying no to 60% of its customer base. Like, that's phenomenal. No other industry does that. But it's really about risk and managing that risk. So if you do not lock the smartphones that you are financing, then you don't know if that person is going to walk out of the store and you never see them again. If you're able to lock down those devices incredibly well, if they do not pay, if it's a fraudulent customer or they're delinquent, then under the instruction of the carrier, we can lock that phone on their behalf. And we lock it in a way that you cannot just take it to the local market and get it unlocked for $10. It doesn't work that way. So it's very, very strong locking. And then the customer comes back to the carrier store and says, okay, here is my next payment, and we unlock the phone anywhere in the world in 20 seconds or less.
All right. Just to get it right, because I do remember a few years ago, the GSMA, and actually in Tunisia, we have like a similar solution, actually. It's a platform where you can actually check if the phone you're actually buying, if it's a second-hand phone, has been stolen, for example, or not.
Yeah.
If it's on the market through the black market, actually, and not an official retail, actually. And I think also the GSMA did the same thing for a few years ago.
That's right. What you're referring to is an IMEI blacklist. So the IMEI is like a serial number that sits within the mobile phone. And the IMEI blacklist is something that the GSMA run, and they run it in a number of countries. The challenge with the GSMA blacklist, the IMEI blacklist, is that it's not ubiquitous. It's not in every country, in every carrier. So generally what happens is when those phones are stolen, they sit on the IMEI blacklist. What that does, it turns off the SIM card slot. It doesn't disable the phone. So you can still use it over Wi-Fi if you'd like. You can still use WhatsApp, all of social media, FaceTime, etc. So it turns off the SIM card slot, but it can still work on Wi-Fi.
But in your case, it locks the phone completely.
All of it, yeah, the whole thing. If you take a device that is on the IMEI blacklist and you sell it in a country that doesn't recognize or use that blacklist, it works fine, no problem, with a SIM card. So if you take it to most of sub-Saharan Africa, it will work just fine because they don't pay any attention to the IMEI blacklist. So for that to work really well, in an ideal world, it would lock the whole phone not just the SIM card, and every carrier in the world would subscribe to it, whereas actually that's not the case today. So there's plenty of places around the world you can still ship stolen phones. And we see it in every country. It's a big problem. So in the UK, there's about 1 million, 1.5 million phones stolen every single year. The detection rate is very low, so this is a crime that is not very well policed or detected. If you go to Brazil, it's more like 6 million. That's a conservative estimate. If it's in Peru, it's 3 million. So the world trade in stolen phones is significant.
All right. Just one last question, actually. We're here in Barcelona, actually, for the Mobile World Congress. Any appreciations of the exhibition, actually?
Yes, a great event as always. I think, depressingly, I think this is my 20th year at Mobile World Congress. So it's always great to see, there's a ton of information, there's a ton of kind of development and innovation that's happening within all of the halls. And it's great to be back in Barcelona as well. It's a wonderful city. And yeah, it feels like coming home, so it's good.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.